Ramsey, as I like to call him, Kimba Ramsey. That's what I call him. But yo, welcome to another live stream, y'all. Me and my brother have been doing this thing for like maybe like 2 months. I want to think now. We
Yeah.
just felt the need to just do something that was creative, something that talked about current events, but really focusing on like now. I think we're trying to shift to focusing on Africa, man, because I think both of us see something that's happening, man. We realize that Africa is the future. Africa has been the past. Africa has been the present. Africa has been the future. So welcome to the chat, man. Thanks for joining us. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the notification button. First things first. Kimba, let them know your channel because we're going to be alternating these platforms as we do it every week. CLSA Gaming, thank you for the chat, man. Welcome to the chat.
Go ahead, what's
brother.
up. Yeah, shouts out to CLS Gaming, man, for sure.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got fans, man. We got fans, bro. We built up a coalition.
We building. So yeah, my channel is I Am King Kimba. So when y'all get a chance, subscribe to that as well, and make sure definitely you on Adewale's channel, where we at right now. So yeah, bro, and I'm in London. So Rizzy's from the US. I'm in London right now, and I'm just excited, man, about the time that we living in, bro. I think there's so many opportunities, and I want to actually, it's funny, I wanted to start off, I want to show you something.
Yes, what's new? What's new?
Yeah, I want to show you something.
That's right. We got a new segment we're doing now, man. What's new? So y'all gonna check out this cool, very cool.
Check this out. This is my new studio setup.
Wow. Holy crap. Ho ho.
Yeah.
Wow. Man, it's gonna be on the music up in there, boy. Hey, look, don't be showing up over there if you ain't got no money for the studio now. Ain't nothing free.
Yeah, so my piano and stuff, my keyboard is downstairs, but
yes, sir. Man, that's liberating.
Hey, listen, bro, because we had a loft for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I had everything downstairs, right? But now, man, I'm back up here, man. About to get bro.
So I mean, I guess the area is soundproof and encased. Also, too, man, I didn't want to forget, but make sure you we'll talk about it later. But he's got a book out, y'all. He's got a book right now. It's a children's book. Yes, go ahead and break it down to him, and then we'll get into the show. Let him know what's up, man. The book.
Yeah. So this book is called Right the Wrongs. There's 62 poems in here that I wrote over a 2-year span. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
62 poems I wrote over a 2-year span. This was actually coming out of COVID. Actually, this was right through COVID. And I go into schools and I teach kids how to write poetry and then songs as well, and then creative writing. So to date, I've probably been to 200 schools across 11 different countries.
Wow.
And so it's just a really great experience to be able to pass on my expertise to the next generation whilst I continue to build my catalog, in terms of writing and music. And this summer, I'm going to actually be running an online course. So to anybody that is interested as well, shouts out to the 11 people watching us.
Yes.
Anybody that's interested, if you've got young people from the age of 7+, no matter where you are, because I'm going to be on Zoom. So we're going to be doing it right on Zoom. You can do it right from the comfort of your own home. And you can actually have your children right there with you, or even I'm breaking it down into age groups. So it's from 7+. So I'm going to, like today I was in a school and one of the teachers said that she wants to actually do it with her daughters. Like they want to do it together. They want to do the writing class together. So it's looking gorgeous, man. And so I think we're probably going to start either at the end of July or the beginning of August.
Okay.
And run it for a couple of weeks. And just have hour-long sessions where we chop it up about writing. We chop up themes and prompts that we want to write about. And then we talk about techniques. So it's popping, like you said, bro. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a good thing. He's got a book coming out. I've got my first comic book coming out. I'm gonna let y'all know the date later on this month. But today, man, what we're always gonna do beginning of this segment is when we talk about what's new, and then we can finish it off at the end of the show. But I wanted y'all to know what's going on because creativity and really this decentralization point of Africa is where all this talent is coming from. So yeah, man, he's got a book, he's got a studio, he's got music. We got a lot of exciting stuff happening, man. And like I say, he's got that book coming out. The teaching course is coming out this month or next month. And I've got the first comic book, the first official Carjacks vs. Assassins comic book is coming out. That's a game changer right there.
Let's go.
My faith in my heart knows that it's going to change my life. It's going to change the world. There's going to be a lot of boy, it's gonna change everything. So y'all, let's get to it. So look, the reason why we're here today is because I took a trip to Africa just last month. I came back this month, well in June, and I realized in my trip that Africa is the future, Africa is the present, and Africa is the past. What I realized too is that a lot of opportunities, the youth, the technology, the creativity, the science, and welcome to the chat, yo, Albert. Thank you. Welcome to the chat. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for joining us, man. We're gonna
Yeah.
talk about Africa's greatness, man. And what's happening now is that when I took that trip to Nigeria specifically, I saw opportunities like crazy. And for the longest, my father had been telling me, Junior, you need to come home. You need to come home. You need to come home. But I didn't understand what he was saying till I went home. I was like, oh, hell no. I swear to God, y'all, when I got there, I want to take my American passport and throw it in the trash and just straight leave me right here. I'll be straight. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're over there, and I say this to any African American or any person of African descent, whether you live in the Caribbeans, in Europe, wherever you might be at, the minute you touch down in Africa, that color badge that you wear, you will shed it automatically. You just blending in. You just another brother in this mug. Nobody's looking at you like, what color are you? Nobody's doing any of that. See, that's a disease that exists in America or in
Yeah.
Europe. And I'll be frank about that. So for
Yeah.
me, the things that I wanted to touch on today, the movement, which I mean in terms of the mindset, the creativity that's happening right now in Africa, the technology that's happening in Africa, the economics, and the future. So I'm gonna go ahead and Kim and let you lead off with the movement, man, and mindset, what's happening to Africans now, because it's a
Yeah.
major thing, man, that's happening right now.
Yeah, it is major. Primarily being spearheaded, I think I would say in this moment by Ibrahim
Traore.
Traore,
Yeah.
who's politically leading the country at the moment. Um, and what it appears to me from what I've read and what I've listened to is that he has mobilized the country of Burkina Faso, and he's mobilized a mentality, a self-sufficient mentality. This idea that as a country, we will no longer be reliant upon external running of the government or access to the natural resources,
Yes, sir.
where there are other countries who are actually grossly benefiting from what the country produces. And he's been pursued by other countries or other military coups to actually take his life.
Oh yeah.
Because of how revolutionary even the idea is, right? It's one
Yep.
thing to have a revolutionary idea, but this man has actually implemented
Yep.
change, right? He's implemented change. So, and what he's doing has revolutionized the continent, or there's rumblings. There's a lot of rumblings of revolutionizing the continent of Africa, right? Because I know, and I'll let you speak to this as well. There are a couple of, I'm trying to remember the other two presidents of the other two
Oh, is the
nations.
president of Niger and Chad.
Yeah,
Niger and
Niger and
Chad.
Chad.
Yeah.
I thought was
No, excuse me.
Malawi.
Niger, Chad, or Mali. Niger, Chad, or Mali as well.
Is it
But
Malawi?
Niger, so Niger, no, the main one is Niger and Mali. So Sahel states. So they
Yeah,
form the AES. So
this
let
is
me
it.
get you the name of the president of Mali.
Hmm. Yeah, this
President.
is it. And so it's been a while since we've seen this
Okay,
type
yeah.
of,
That's who you're talking about. General Admi Assimi Gota. So he's the president of Mali. And
yeah,
then the president of Niger, because it's them three that got this thing popping, man.
yeah.
And then Adu or Chani
Hmm.
Tichani, that's his
Hmm.
name. So these three amazing men, as you were saying, man, they've put Africans on like, yo, we need to change shit. Pardon my
Yeah,
English, but that's just the fact.
yeah,
Like you were saying, man. Go ahead, brother. Those are the three names right there,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So the fact that you have that camaraderie across nations like that, and somebody is bold enough and courageous enough to say, you know what, we're not afraid of these external forces anymore,
No.
and we're going to take our future into our own hands, because it belongs to us. Everything in this land belongs to us. It doesn't belong to any other country.
Nope.
So they should not have the right of power over, our resources.
Yep.
And it set a lot of people on fire. The diaspora around the world have been feeling this for a long time, right? Like I think
Yep.
the African diaspora has been some of the most grossly oppressed people
Violated. Not
throughout
forget
history. Absolutely.
violated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, it to see this type of resilience and courage in a leader, people are just behind it.
Yep.
People are just behind it because we know, everyone knows, even the entire world knows, even Europeans knows. When you look at the continent of Africa, there's no way in the world, with all of the abundance of natural resources that come from that continent, that the continent should be as far behind as it is now
Yep.
in economic development. There's
Yep.
no way in the world. There's no way in the world. All of the cellular technology, the majority, I think 60 to 70% of the cellular technology,
It's from Africa.
the mineral resources come from Africa,
Yep.
right? If you talk about precious stones, I
Yep.
think it's like 60 to 70 or 80% of the precious stones coming out of Africa. Diamonds, gold. We talk gold, which the world's economic system is
Yep.
is set upon, right? It's the foundation of the world's economic system is gold. So there's no way in the world that continent should be as far behind as it is economically. So when people see this, you see a man stand up and say, "Listen, it's done.
Enough's enough.
Yeah, enough's enough." Then people are behind it. So
Yeah.
this is amazing. This is amazing.
You know what's funny? You say that. First and foremost, I want to let everybody know this. First of all, if you are African or if you're not, let me make this clear to you because I just came home. We don't give a damn what you think. Bottom line is this: what's in Africa belongs to Africans. There's a. Let me tell you this, and a lot of people don't know this. And the West, France, sorry, caucus. If you put hands on you, Brian, if I'm telling you right now, brother, if anything happens to you, Brian, try it. It's gonna be World War III. When I was home, bro, brothers and sisters were ready to go at
Wow.
white countries. If you touch
Wow.
that man, we've made it crystal
Mm,
clear. What you did to
mm,
Gaddafi, what you did to Thomas Sankara, what you did to Samora Michelle, you will not do it to Ibrahim Traore. You touch him, we gonna bleed you out. When I tell you
mm,
this, when I was there, while I was there, the president of Namibia was kicking out a bunch of white people.
mm,
The president of Chad, he didn't just ban visas, Americans. He specifically targeted white people. You're not coming to
mm,
Africa no more. You see, what's
mm,
happening is white people are used to paying off a crooked African leader so they could
mm,
steal what they wanted. Well,
mm,
what's happening now with my generation? We decided to say, you know what? All you old heads, I'm talking about all these people that are 60 plus, you got to
mm,
go. You are
mm,
what's ruining Africa. For the
mm.
longest, Africa's been getting ruined because all these people that are now 65, 70 are the ones who stole all the money. They left
Yeah.
nothing for my generation.
Corrupt
They're the ones who,
politicians.
the coups, the murdering, the destruction of the continent. There's this
Mm,
obsession to just take your money, move it to Switzerland, and then when you die, Switzerland inherits the money. To be frank with you, Africa needs to sue Switzerland. They owe us
mm,
money. You see what I'm
mm,
saying?
mm,
It's not the word reparations is not even good enough.
mm,
It's return of infrastructure. Art.
mm,
You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Art. The art gets on my nerves. You know how infuriating it is to go to Europe and see my art in European museums? Somebody
mm,
explaining Benin to me? Like, keep that crap to yourself.
mm,
What white people are looking for is I call it the way out.
mm,
Where they what they've done, they don't want to acknowledge it. But they also
mm,
don't want to pay back what they owe. You pay
mm,
back Jews, you pay back Japanese,
mm,
Koreans, but to pay back
mm,
Africans, will make you broke. So during World War II, right after World War II, Europe was a broke joke. You know
mhm,
what the Axis powers did? The meeting they had in 1884, they had another one again in 1946. And they used that time to say, look, we're going to use Africa to pay back our bills. France
mm,
is nothing without Africa. You can see that
mm,
right now because what's his name? Oh boy, the Macron or whatever the hell his name is, he's having a headache right now because everywhere you look, Africans are kicking him out. It
mm,
started with Burkina Faso, then Mali did it, then Niger did it. What's happening is a movement. It's a cycle. And I've always said this as a kid. I was telling this to my dad while I was in Nigeria. I said, Africa doesn't need a physical revolution; it needs a mental revolution. We need to start loving ourselves. Start realizing white people are not necessary in Africa. You know, we're not. You're not welcomed in Africa. If you are welcomed, you're here for 2 weeks and get the hell out. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. That's just me. I've never really been shy about how I felt about what whites were doing in Africa. I don't really care. I'm not looking for their friendship. I don't care about none of that. Like I said, what's happening with my generation, and this stuff I was hearing when I was in Nigeria, man. To hear people saying this was so liberating. I always felt like I was ahead of the time because the way I felt, like now, has always been that way since I was a kid. Maybe I saw something that I thought was messed up, and we need to do somebody, and they would call me, "Oh, you're just a revolutionary. You're a rebel." No, you're just weak because you're too cowardly. You know, cats like yourself, maybe we would just think differently. Like, we feel like Africa belongs to Africa. And so if it's going to belong to Africa, Africans should own Africa. So now, for example, I don't know if you kept up with the news. In the DRC, between the DRC and Rwanda, these guys come to the US. Of all people, this useless Donald Trump, they tell him he's supposed to broker a peace treaty. Meanwhile, he's going to be stealing the resources, diamonds, uranium, cobalt. These are all things they used to make cell phones. What's the future? Lithium, car batteries, right? So you're telling me the African Union couldn't broker a deal between Rwanda and DRC? You have to go get a white guy who doesn't give a damn about your country, who called the same Africa a shithole. Pardon my English. And you went back to him standing there like some buffoons. The only thing and this woman that represented DRC and the other idiot representing Rwanda was sitting there like, "Oh, wow, we've done something great." You're an African man standing next to a white man's office pretending like he's a king. You look like a buffoon. The only thing I was grateful for was the fact that it wasn't actually the presidents of each country standing there. Now that would have been embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was a foreign affairs ministers or whatever you want to call them. But what's happening now in Africa is that you have a mental revolution, and that's something that's been so far needed, because if you don't do that, you can't change anything else. You can't control your resources. And they've been trying to kill Ibrahim Traore. They've had 20 tries, man. This man is on the they're not even trying to take out the president of Mali or Niger. They are literally trying to take out Ibrahim Traore. Because
he's the spearhead. I mean,
yes, he's the spearhead.
And so he's in terms of his strategies, I would venture to say that he's the brain he's the brain supply for the strategic transition.
Yeah.
You know, and so they would target him because he was the one that was most courageous in initiating and taking the first steps. Yeah, he was the one who initiated the first steps. And you mentioned Trump as well. And the thing that you say about Trump, you know, and his approach to these negotiations with other countries is the same way he treated Zelensky when he came for the meeting they had in the U.S. You know, the same way he talked to that man like, you know, he wasn't worth a pair of
drawers.
a pair of used underwear, but you know, used shoes, man. You know, it just the level of inconsiderateness to people, to humanity, you know, and the language, a lot of it is reflected in the language. You know, we're gonna do a deal.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way he spoke to him in regards to lives being lost and talk about, you know, it could have been a lot worse for you if we didn't get involved. And then when it actually came to the negotiations they were talking about between Russia and Ukraine and how he was supposed to be the middleman, you know, is all hinged on the fact his commitment to support for Ukraine was all based on what America was going to get back from it.
Of course.
His emphasis, there was not much emphasis on his compassion for people losing their lives and the fact that it's an act of compassion for humanity for him to be involved. It was all about what the US was going to benefit from and what was in the deal and all this kind of stuff like that. I mean, and it just lets you see where people's perspectives are and what they value. You know, because at the end of the day, it sounded all about money. It didn't have anything to do with the lives of people.
That doesn't shock me because he's and speaking of Ukraine, I don't really have too much love for them either, because right now they were sponsoring the country that's right next to Mali and Niger, trying to create a overthrow so they can block Ibrahim Traore. Yes, Ukraine is giving weapons and training Mauritania, right, country next over, so they can come
Wow.
and Ukraine.
Wow.
I got no love for them. The only country I trust is Russia. When it comes to a white country, Russia is the only one I trust. Since the beginning of time, Russia has never enslaved us. Russia has never colonized us. They've always made a partnership. That's why Ibrahim Traore went there. You see, what the U.S. is scared of is this. Africa is the middle point of the world. Whichever way Africa decides to lean is the way the power is going to shift. That's why that U.S. is trying to buy its way back into the good graces of Africa. But Africans themselves, not the leaders, Africans themselves, the citizenry, we are ready for unification. It's these useless leaders that are not. And the reason why these useless leaders don't want unification, because they want to keep being dictators, keep being president for 10 years,
They
20
eating,
years.
bro. They eating.
I mean, bro, they're eating like, it's crazy. We're talking about eating. The great Thomas Sankara, the one that was assassinated, Burkina Faso, who named Burkina Faso, his friend who he grew up with, Blaise Compaoré, I can't even pronounce his useless name. He betrayed Thomas Sankara, assassinated him, became president for 27 years, and didn't do anything. But see, God is good in his mercy. This man eventually was shamed out of office. The people rebelled against him. They burnt down his house. Everything he owned, they burnt it to the ground. And then with the person that became president in 2014 assured us that he would do something and put this guy on trial and didn't do anything. That's when Ibrahim Traore came in 2022. A coup to take out a coup.
So that's the guy who
he basically did what Jerry Rawlings of Ghana did to fix Burkina Faso. It had to be done. You don't see us Africans complain about Ibrahim Traore. In fact, a bunch of us Nigerians want somebody in Nigeria to do that. We want somebody to come in and clear all these useless human beings. My uncle said something, and this might sound cold, but it's the truth. My uncle said we need to kill off all these 65, 70-year-old useless people in office so that the newer generation can come in, my generation. If you don't do that, they'll never leave. You got to clear them out. Straight clear them out. And that's the truth. Africa won't change till we clear all these useless old people that have ruined Africa. Between the time of my grandfather, right, and myself, is my parents' generation. I straight up told them, y'all ain't do shit. Pardon my English. All you did was fly to Europe, get on Air France, British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, sell our country in parts. See, my grandfather's generation fought for independence of Africa. My parents' generation just enjoyed the fruits of the labor of my grandparents' work. They didn't do jack squat. They didn't fix nothing. They didn't do infrastructure. How you have in 2025, brother, there are no parks for kids to play soccer. The hospital infestation. You know how many Africans are in America that are the best doctors? Why aren't this talent in Africa? Remember I was telling you about my talent? My artistic talent. There's a point when I realized that my talent belongs to Africa. I need to go take my talent and go grow Africa. Forget America. Remember I was supposed to go to Japan? The greatest blessing that happened to me was I didn't get to go to Japan. I realized that Africa was the focal point. I need to get my butt over there. This whole, anything I can do belongs to Africa. My characters is intention. These characters right as we see are African. I'm not interested in any more Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. I don't care about none of that. I care about Africa. That's all I care about. You know what I'm saying? Because for the longest time, gross mismanagement is not even the word. It's a violation. And it's not only that the European powers or Western America violated Africa. Is that the leaders, these prime ministers, these presidents violate Africa. You know the president of Togo has been in office for 20 years? And Togo has been ruined completely. Not only was it neo-colonized by the French, but this guy continues to steal from his Togolese people. So guess what's going on in Togo right now? A revolution. People are riot. It's not so much rioting, but people are just protesting left and right. They have no money, no education, no infrastructure, no health care. They're starving. $2 they can barely get to eat a day. Bro, tell me how $2 is gonna feed somebody. So these are the things why when we do something like this, we're putting a light on what the things that they're not doing. When we talk about the leaders, the African Union is not, part of my English, but they're a bunch of B words. They have no backbone. These leaders don't want unification. The regular citizens of Africa, from Kenya to Nigeria to Ghana to Botswana to to Zambia, to Mozambique. The regular citizens of Africa are ready to unite. We're already united.
Yeah.
What we need is these useless leaders that are in place to do their job. Bro, how hard is it that if you have a country that's got $1? Okay, if you want to steal 10 cents, go right ahead. But leave the remaining 90 cents for the country so it can function. For God's sake. You see what I'm saying? And that's the problem. These Africans, and this is the way they think, brother. I don't know if you ever heard this, but most Africans speak like this. These African leaders have this mentality. We came out of colonialism, slavery. Well, now that I'm a leader, let me go ahead and chop money that I didn't make in the back. What kind of a mentality is that, bro? And that's the mentality of these. And this is ironically enough, a lot of these cats that think like this are these individuals come from these small villages. I'm not talking about Lagos or Abeokuta. They come from these small villages ain't nobody heard of. They become president or something. They get so greedy. They get so not used to having power. You get what I'm saying? And so what happens is that people start to build I wouldn't even call it a coalition. Excuse me. I would call it like a oh, what's the word I'm looking for here? Oh, my bad. I would call it like a like a like a Hunger Games, bro. You see what I'm saying? Like they have no self-control of how they should go about taking care of their people. If you're a president, you are overhead.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening in Africa, man. I mean, the movement, I think what sparked the movement now is the youth, our generation. We just ain't having it no more. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on right now, man. So that's the movement, man. And this is a perspective from a guy who's Nigerian. Obviously, you're African American descent. But I think I don't care what you are. As long as you got chocolate skin, you know what's going on. You can't be just literally what's the word? Ignorant to the situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's the mindset that's happening right now. So which leads us to the next part, which I think is going to be what's going to be the next integral part of changing Africa. Creativity in all facets. Art, music, engineering, whatever you want to think about it, man. So what creativity, man? I'm gonna let you go ahead, man. Go ahead. Take point.
So well, I think one of the examples of how creativity, African creativity influences the world and has the potential to get the attention of the world is one example I'm going to say is Afrobeat. A few years ago, a lot of people didn't know anything. Afrobeat was not on the global radar.
No.
And nowadays, it's nearly, I mean, it competes with hip hop.
Yep.
Across the world, Afrobeat, and that is distinctively African. Now, hip hop is African American. Afrobeat is African.
Yep.
So that is a definitive example of how African creativity is touching the world. And I think in a subtle way, because of the impact of African Americans, I think that also there's a dash of I'm going to say the fashion element is coming up too. A lot of the colors and the inspiration of patterns, right?
Yes.
Like patterned clothing and textiles. I think that subtly that has always it's always been influential.
Hey, appreciate all of y'all joining us. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and definitely hit the notification button. We got some people. People are dead. They're coming in and out. So they're seeing what we're talking about. So that's a good thing. That's what we want.
Yeah. So I think subtly African creativity has been influencing in the fashion area. But definitely, I mean, Afrobeat is easy to see. So yeah, I think those two areas right there. I know there's others, but for me, immediately, I pick up on those two.
That's funny you say that, the Afro beats and clothing. My worry for Afro beats is that I don't want Afro beats to become owned by whites or Jews.
Europeans, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no problem saying it because what they'll do is they'll come to Africa, they'll sign a talent. Hey, here's $1 million. What the hell is $1 million compared to the 100 million you're stealing from me? So that's what I'm worried about. But I think what they'll realize real quick with whites, you're not gonna cheat Africans when it comes to we're not gonna play that. They're gonna find a hostility if they try that crap. They're not.
To your point, I think one of the and I think it's going to be in the next part we talk about, because you mentioned
Yeah.
the technology sector.
Yeah.
And one of the key areas of growth over the next 20 years for Africa is going to be um, a what do we call it? The
AI.
no, the legal structure, the legal
Yes.
infrastructure
Yes.
for the legal infrastructure for intellectual property,
Property. Yes.
because that is one of the key elements that the Western world has developed over, that has in place, has
Yeah.
established, versus what is established in Africa. I
Yeah.
haven't done enough research to know what's in place in Africa in terms of infrastructure for intellectual property, particularly music. Now, what I do know, because I know I've got a close Ghanaian friend who's elderly, he's an older man, but he works in copyright and he works in publishing. And I know he and I have talked because we've been doing a music project together, which we're going to release hopefully later this year. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's an African history
Yeah.
music project. But I know he's often said to me that the systems are not in place in the way that they are in the Western world for
Yeah.
African artists to profit in the way that they might in the Western
Yeah.
sphere, in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
royalties and record sales and all that.
Yeah. He's right, because what happens with African sales is that we just put out the song. That minute when it sells is when we collect the money. When I think about future revenue, royalties, publishing, all that stuff, and that's mostly to do with a crooked ass government,
Yeah,
because they don't want to be bothered with things that matter.
yeah,
So creativity has to be, you have to kind of do it in a way where you own
longevity.
your stuff. That's why, yeah, that's why I was saying that my worry is not the creative Afro beats and all that. I'm worried about it not being owned by white people.
Yeah,
Don't allow
yeah,
them. We're not. I think what's gonna happen, and I'm afraid it might happen, but I don't want to become like hip hop. But what whites
yeah.
are gonna find real difficult is that, boy, you mess with Nigerians are very different, because Afro beats came out of Nigeria. It's the
Mm,
primary source, the base of Afro beats, and they'll
mm,
find out that, whether it's, hopefully they think this way, Burner Boy, Wizkid, Asake, all these guys are understanding the business side, and they become ruthless towards these, because Jews will come and whites will come. And Jews and
mm,
whites are the same to me, because Jews are just elite whites, basically. And I don't know why people give Jews a pass. They don't deserve a pass. Look at hip hop, man. Who owns hip hop? African Bandana creates hip hop in Bronx, right? But the ownership, the record labels, the distribution, the studios, even, all owned
mm,
by Jews. So
mm,
African Americans are working for Jews. It's ridiculous. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? I mean,
mm,
it's always been an issue for me, man. Like, don't give up your creativity to somebody with offering. That's like when they told Master P, "We'll give you $1 million," and Master P said, "If you're giving me $1 million, how much am I really worth?"
mm,
And that's the problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? Even you with your album, when you had your record deal, like, there's no reason why, when you separate parts from the person or separate from the entity, that you shouldn't still have ownership of your music.
mm,
You paid for the creation. You got your reimbursement. You made your money back in terms of recouping your money for what you paid for studio time, whatever it might be, promotions or whatever. But
mm,
that's the problem. I'm more worried about ownership, creativity, and I don't think the governments understand this creativity is the future. Let's not have some white guy from Europe or some rich Jew guy come in and teach you how to not own your own stuff. Sign here, sign here. That's always the line. Sign here,
mm,
sign here. Like, I'm not
mm.
signing nothing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So that's my worry. Without question, oh my God, Africa's so creative. We're
yeah.
creative when we wash clothes. We're creative when we iron clothes. We're creative when we wear clothes. We're creative when we watch music. We're creative when we do music. We're creative. I'm not. Afro. I was telling a coworker this at work the other day. I said, you do realize that Afro beats are just taking over from hip hop. Hip hop is not
Mm,
number one no more. When I'm at work, bro, I at work on the radio station at work. Burner Boy, Wizkid, Asake, Thames, Davido, Akule Gold. These are all cats that I'm hearing. And record labels aren't coming to Brooklyn or LA to look for talent no more. No, they're going to Nigeria. They're going to Ghana. They're going to South America. They're done with America. They don't. The reason why is because when you play music from Afro beats, you don't have to worry about hearing the N word every 3 seconds. An Afrobeat song can be played in any space. the
Yeah.
airport, the
Yeah.
restaurant, the
Yeah.
grocery store, wherever you
Mm,
can, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
So that's what's
mm.
happening with Afrobeat. My only prayer is that, please, in the name of God, don't make the same mistake that hip hop made, where hip hop artists are just stage people, specifically African Americans, and some punk ass
Well,
white boys in the background. Pardon my English. You know what I'm saying?
well, that's the next part of the journey from my perspective
Yeah.
for African artists, particularly musically, but I think in other areas as well is infrastructure. And
Yes.
um, hopefully there's people in place who are thinking in that way. I think a prime example of the potential that people are thinking in that way is
Thank whoever's
not
joining us there in the chat, not showing their face. Hit the
yeah,
like, hit the subscribe button. We thank all of y'all. It's been a
yeah,
better show than the last time we came on. So
yeah,
hey, every time we growing, man.
yeah. I think a good example of the potential of people, the right people being in place to create the infrastructure is the success of Nollywood,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I think the fact that you've had that level of success for that many years and now there's an established industry in Nollywood suggests that there are people in the country who have an understanding of the level of infrastructure that's
Yes.
required to establish an industry,
Yes.
because it's obvious the talent is there and there's a
Yes.
consistent flow of the talent.
Yes.
So now it's like, how do we get the infrastructure in place so that the same level of economic empowerment
Yes.
artists are receiving from their music
Yes.
being played globally, that they can
Yes.
receive it from or receive it in the countries where they are and on the
Yes.
continent where they are? Because if now these external countries are are I don't want to say exploiting, but they're playing the music, covering the music to the extent that people are being able to make a good living from it when
Yes.
the music is being outsourced.
Yeah.
Imagine if you're doing that in your country. Like you said, you put the album out and they buy it, but physically, music has gone a different direction.
Yeah.
And this could lead into the technological part that we
Yes.
about to talk about too, because
Yeah.
music has gone digital now.
Yes.
And you know, Africa is a little bit behind in terms of some of the technology, the digital infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if Spotify exists in
We do.
or
We got all
so
that. What
okay,
we got all that. The problem is that, okay, think of it like this. The web-based infrastructure is not there. So we need our own web source. Right
yeah,
now, a lot of African countries web source it from overseas.
that's a big deal, right? That's a
That's a big
big
deal
deal
right
right
there.
there.
Which brings us to our next man, as you said, technology. So now, y'all, the technology segment of this episode, right? We need African leaders. Where, like right now in Nigeria, where they were working on that. Basically, we're trying to cut off WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. Now
And now,
listen, hold that thought right there. Don't leave where you at.
yeah,
Now, some people might hear that and think that's impossible. But I was in China for a month, for a month or 6 weeks a year ago. I was in,
yeah,
and bro, listen, if there's any country that I've been to where I have seen firsthand experience about autonomy
yeah,
and being self-sufficient, is China. Because once you land in China, any social media that you function on that is not Chinese based does not
yeah.
work in China. So
Oh,
WhatsApp doesn't work, Twitter doesn't work,
wow,
even Gmail, Google doesn't
wow.
work. None of
I
that don't
love it.
work at all.
I love it.
So
I'm okay with that. And that's
yeah,
what we need
but
in Africa too.
so they have an app there called WeChat. It's
Okay.
called WeChat, and then there's another one called Alipay. And
Okay.
these are two applications that work on your phone. If you have those two applications,
Yeah.
you basically don't need anything else. Like your mobile phone is nearly your life, bro. Like you can order groceries,
Yeah.
pay bills,
Man,
order food to be delivered,
that's what we need. Man,
everything on the phone, bro. And those QR codes that you have, there's QR codes for everything. I mean,
that's what I'm talking about.
everything.
See, I take that concept and take. Remember that time we were chopping it up? Remember how? Okay, my boy just built a studio. Remember I was telling you, why the hell should I go on tour and go visit every damn country when I can stay my butt in my own place, build my own concert area, and all of y'all come to me? Now we giving a chance to give Africa revenue, bro. I'm not, as y'all well know, my boy does music too, but I do music too. I have no desire or interest in touring the world. I'm dropping my album and I'm gonna make everybody come to me. I'm not doing that. Packing my suitcase every 2 minutes, every night, and going to Australia. News. I don't give a damn about going anywhere. I'll go through Africa. I'll tour in Africa, but I'm not touring the rest of the world. I don't give a damn about the rest of the world. You know what I'm saying? Mine is to feed mine, if that makes any sense. You know, the technology part of this is that what's happening now, and I was bringing that up. There's a minister of technology in Nigeria. He's actually working on an app because he wants to kick WhatsApp out. Guess who WhatsApp's owned by? Facebook. Mark
Yeah,
Zuckerberg's useless behind.
Zuckerberg.
So
Yeah.
so what he's been doing with Facebook was he's been underpaying the African government, the Nigerian government. And the Nigerian government told him, you're gonna pay us money, we're gonna kick you out. You know what I'm saying? So now the minister of technology is like, I'm gonna create an app. There's actually this app is actually getting worked on right now. It's dead near completion. You're gonna kick out WhatsApp and put that in. And then now Africans are gonna be able to communicate with each other based on our own app. And then we're gonna build our own technological hubs. Ghana, Senegal's already doing that. Right now, Senegal is at least 85% ready to go. Because the president of Ghana, when he came, he said, what we need is our own hub, our own web-based hub, our own satellites. So that means we don't need to piggyback off anybody, which means it protects our information, it encrypts our information. We don't want Europe, because anything you do in Africa, right, that's supposed to be secret, Europe is still seeing it. But if we have our own hub base, they can't see nothing. So that's why, for me, and this is not too far ahead of thinking a dream, I dream of a day where an African spaceship is launched from Nigeria. Where we have our own NASA program. I got Nigerians wearing uniform in space floating. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. They have their own car, bro. Itua. Oh my God, this car is so cool. They got mini coupes, they got SUVs, they got sedans, all made in Africa, bro. So that's the technology that we need to get Africa in the direction it needs to go. Now, when you have technology now, guess what comes after that? Economics, money. As you said, economics. So on this one, I feel like this. When you spend money in your own house, you get the money back in your own house. I don't know what you think, but the way I think is this. One of the things that's always been hurting Africa is that the money is being pushed out. It's been outsourced. It's not being kept in-house so that people can have you could get to money quickly. Like we have to go through, like for example, you have Central Bank in Nigeria. Well, prior to that, Central Bank was an understudy of Barclays Bank in England, which owned slaves in Africa. Why are we getting money from a country that stole money from us? So basically, you're giving back my own money. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So in terms of economics, man, I don't know what you think, but that's how I feel like. I feel like you need to have your own. We have our own banks. We need to have our own loan programs, our own grant programs. There's no reason why Africans should be trying to cross the Mediterranean to go to a country that doesn't give a damn about them. You see what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, ownership has always been the thing, man, and that's what
Yeah,
colonialization was about, was establishing ownership, Europeans establishing ownership of African resources,
yeah,
and so it's been happening for centuries, and so it's obvious that something has been wrong.
yeah,
The growth has been suffocated
yep,
because none of the majority of the countries, all of the countries, are not primarily benefiting from the resources and what's available there.
yeah,
And that goes from natural resources to intellectual resources, because
yep,
as you said, there's been a big brain drain going on. Like if you go to a lot of these other countries and you go into the medical fields or the engineering fields, you're going to find
yep,
a lot of Africans a lot of times.
yep,
And the reason they've done that is because the opportunities have been in the Western world.
yeah,
Um, and Nigerians have a reputation of being hardworking people and upstanding citizens. So they go to other countries and excel and never come back because they go and make a good living, which Nigerian parents encourage them to do.
yep,
They're big on education, so they go and get these degrees, these law degrees, these
yep,
medical degrees, these engineering degrees, and go settle in other countries. Because the opportunities to have a good living and be able to send money home
yeah,
have been in other countries. So, and that's been the case in Kenya, because I've been to Kenya, and I've
yeah,
I've heard it, well, how it goes there as well. So,
Yeah.
if you can stay in the country of origin of your origins
Yeah.
and build and build generational wealth, then a
Yeah.
lot of people would do that. But that's not been the case, and so the tides seem to be changing, man. And I think it's in a world where people are screaming and cheering for the idea of democracy.
Real
If that's really,
democracy.
yeah, if that's what you really on, if that's what you really champion, then
Yeah.
you should be excited. You should be behind a lot of what's happening because it's only right. It's judicious. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's judicious because if you have a heart, you know, you want to see people be done right by,
Yep.
and you know, Africans have been on the wrong side of history for a long time.
Man.
You know,
It's what I really want actually, and I've been saying this. I want Nigeria. Actually I want all of Africa de-dollarized. I want the dollar got
mm,
kicked out of Africa. Now, when you
mm,
kick out the dollar out of Africa, now the currency of each country has a chance to move up. And also, too, Africa needs to have one currency. You saw to have the euro. Africa needs to have Afro coin, whatever the hell you want to call it, the Afro, whatever you want to call it. So that way, when I go into Kenya, Ghana, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Soweto, Zaire. It don't. I mean, excuse me, DRC. I'm
that's
spending one
big.
money. It
That's
gives a
big.
chance the currency to raise because if you're spending your own currency in your own country, it only rises in value. Right now,
That's
the current
big.
moment is 1,500 naira to one freaking dollar.
That's
When my
big.
grandfather was alive, it was $1. So you needed $1 to get 80 kobo. My grandfather sent my dad to school cash in America.
Wow.
My grandfather, my mom's father, sent her to school cash.
Wow.
So in 1987 is when the CIA, with their nonsense and bull jive, started to infiltrate so they could destabilize Nigeria.
Wow.
This is what's so great about Nigeria. Nigeria is the last country whose currency was the number one in the world. Nigeria is the last country to ever win the soccer championship. No other country, not China, not anybody else. Since then, it's been white countries. That'd be your Germany, your
Mm,
France, your whatever. But Nigeria is so special. And this is what
mm,
infuriates a lot of Nigerians. And when I say Nigerians, I ain't talking about the useless politicians. No, I'm talking about the everyday citizen on the ground. We want leaders that give a damn. All we asking is for two things. Actually, three. One, fix the damn roads. Two,
mm.
keep the light on. And three, get the hell out of our way. Quit killing us because we protest what you don't do. Do your job. Like me, maybe I'm just different, but I've never been afraid of just standing up to bullies. When I was back home, you're gonna laugh when I say this. When I was back home, I actually met the chairman of the city council where in the local government area. And when I started talking, a lot of them was like, you know, you would make a good local councilman. I said, what are y'all talking about? I said, me, you see the way I behave? I'm very no nonsense. Let's do what we're supposed to do and get this done. And there's a part of me that knows that I might have to get my hands into that if I want to change. Like Mandela said, like Thomas Sankara said, Samora Michelle, if you want something to change, then you need to go there and change it yourself. I'm so
Yeah.
tired of Nigerians and Africans complaining about Africa. Go change it then. Get your
Yeah.
butt back home. Quit living in Australia, New Zealand, and bragging about, oh, I live in New Zealand. I'm living so good. You're an idiot. Move back home. Fix home. Can you imagine if all the talent that was in America that was African was in Nigeria or Africa? Oh my God. So that's where I feel like the economics, Africa needs to be de-dollarized. I've been one that the dollar needs to be kicked out.
Hey, that's a big term. Listen, I got a couple snacks I'm gonna
Go
get into
ahead.
while we
We
talk.
do
But
whatever
not,
we do on YouTube, man. Are you kidding me? They can catch me
no,
eating applesauce sometimes. What you talking about? You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Now,
You know?
I know we got to wrap up in a minute because I got another
Yeah.
early one tomorrow. But
Yeah.
um, you're totally right in this idea that you might have to actually get involved, and that's a part of it that I think a lot of us have shied away from because we know politics have been corrupt for so long and how corrupt they can be, and it's like a lot of times we've had the mind frame that I just want to provide for my family because
Yeah.
the political situation is so corrupt and it takes so much effort to try and make any type of a significant change.
Yeah.
But I think the generations are coming to the light about the need for political involvement because this is where laws are formed. And
Yep.
once laws come in place, they kind of establish
Yeah.
how society works. And
Yep.
a lot of times, the long distance approach to getting things changed is actually being in those rooms
Yeah.
where those laws are being made. And
Yep.
it means, even myself, I'm thinking about, I mean, I've been in those spaces before, but not
Yeah.
consistently, intentionally,
Yeah.
and so I'm thinking,
Your point you're making there is great. Hey, thank all of y'all for joining us. Thank you for joining
yeah.
the chat right now. See, we're getting famous. So please hit the like, hit the subscribe, and definitely hit the notification button.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's important for me to get my hands dirty. And the
Mm,
things that I want to build straight up is infrastructure,
mm,
education, schooling,
mm,
um, roads, um, hospitals. I don't need to be the doctor. I just need to build a hospital there where a doctor
mm,
from Nigeria could
mm.
come and
That's a
service.
big point.
It's those
That's
are
an
the things.
excellent point.
Those are the things I know that will change Africa, which in turn will
That's an
give us a
excellent point.
future. Because you can't have a future if you don't build infrastructure. And that's why my generation is sick and tired of the old guards.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest, bro. They don't move out the way, we're gonna move them out the way. And if it's gotta be
Yeah.
not nicely, then it's gotta be not nice. They gotta
Yeah.
go, bro. They
Yeah.
are ruining Africa.
That's an
These
excellent
old
point.
generation, all these 65-year-olds, all these 68-year-olds, they're the ones who ruined Africa. They stole all our money and moved it to Switzerland. They gotta go. As I always
Mm,
say, we got a Jerry Rollins the country, and everybody knows
yeah.
what I'm talking about. Jerry
Mm,
Rollins is the great former president of Ghana. Oh, he
mm,
cleared out, bro. Either choo you or you step to the side, and we gotta clear them out. They gotta go because if you don't move them, and I've said this a bunch of times, Nigeria is the center of Africa.
mm,
If Nigeria decides, you know what, boom, Europe, you got to go. They say no more dollar. Everybody else will follow.
mm,
Everybody else, because
mm,
Nigeria is where it's happening. We got the
mm,
intellects, we got the creativity, we got the music, we got the technology, but our leaders are just ignorant. They're so
mm,
greedy. Greed is
mm.
the optimum word. This is why the future for any African country can't happen, because you have greedy leaders that don't want to service the country. So a guy like me who's seen as a revolutionary, whatever you want to call me, because that's what these guys were calling me. I'm not
Yeah.
afraid to be that anymore because I remember growing up, I've always thought like this.
Yeah.
I'm not, maybe time finally caught up to me.
Yeah.
There was a track that I wrote, a song that I wrote, which is almost 15 years ago.
Mm,
I was actually listening to the old version of it because I'm
mm,
still working on my album right now. I
mm,
was like, wow, this song
mm.
is still current. It's literally saying what's happening right now. So that's what gives me the courage to say, you know what? Whatever money I make, I cannot take it with me to my grave, but I can put it in my country so that 100 years from now, the kids in Africa will be saying, yo, Adewale, Agboke, he built us schools, he built us art factories, he gave us passports. He said, this is what I want the kids to have that I didn't have. And
Yeah.
that's the mentality. That's what I think is the future. The future is
Yeah.
not just saying we have a future. The future is actually literally building one. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Go ahead,
Yeah.
brother. I don't know what you think, man.
Nah, absolutely, bro. I mean, yeah, and it's really important that you make the point that you want to fund the transition because
Yes.
not all of us have gone to school for the engineering, the law, and medicine and all that, but our creative our creative collateral
Creativity.
our creativity and our creative collateral can fund the transition.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. Listen, bro, we gotta wrap it up
We got
because
to
your
wrap it
boy.
up. And look, my
Yeah.
boy's got to get out of here. It's been an
Yeah.
awesome show. He's got an early morning, real early morning. So look,
Yeah.
another great segment. We'll be back again next week on his platform. I believe it's on I am Kimba, the YouTube
I am
channel.
King Kimba. I am King
So we're
Kimba.
gonna have the topic of that, and we're gonna talk about all kinds of other mess.
Yeah.
Primarily, we try to keep into the Afrocentric sphere.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're gonna be back next week. But so y'all, make sure you check out his channel, the new book that he's got. Where can they get that book, man? Show them the book again if you have it in your hand, so they can check
Yeah.
it out.
My website,
Yes, sir.
kingkimba.com, KingKimber.com. Just go on my website and you'll see details to get the book.
And guys, go get this bio book now, available on SouthVision.com. Cardiac Assassins bio book. It's going to lead you to the first official comic book that's coming out real soon. So, y'all, that's our show for today. Kimber's got to go get some sleep because it's damn near 11 or whatever, 12 a.m. over the night over there. That man eyes like, oh. You know what I mean? So, yo, brother, blessings upon blessings as always. And as always, y'all, two things I always say to finish the show. One, there's no success in skipping steps. The back of the line is just as important as the front of the line. Be determined and not desperate. And then the second one, your dreams can be delayed but must never be extinguished. So wait your time while the universe delivers you the right hand. Be determined, not desperate. Aspire and achieve, y'all. Stay safe. Peace.
Peace, guys.
Yes, sir.